Let's take a look at some information and charts on Polygon Matic for BraveNewCoin. So Polygon enables multi-chain bridging, layer 2 transactionality. It has proof of stake. It has ZK rollups. It has scalability that Ethereum needs. The question I always ask myself is, does this need a token? Did it need a token? What does the token do for the functionality of the protocol? Is this just a money grab? That is always perpetually, doesn't matter what the project is, that is the first thing I ask myself, because that tends to shape my viewpoint going forward. Obviously, people need to get paid for what they're doing, developing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you might love the protocol, but the coin doesn't always make the most sense. So the scaling component is super quick. You can add a dApp to this. I'll show the numbers on a bunch that already have. Basically, the argument is everything we already know about Ethereum and other chains, bridging functionality. So not only is there a need for bridging, but there's also a competitive bridging environment now between AVAX and Ren and all the other players who've thrown their hat into the ring here. So by using ZK rollups, optimistic rollups, proof of stake, a bunch of other stuff, an amalgam of things, the hope is that this will be part of the solution for Ethereum. So the idea is sound. It looks great on paper. People seem to be using it, but doesn't need a token. And they already have Hermes ZK rollups live. So we'll look at some stats on that. They have optimistic rollups coming and a few other things coming as well beyond just what they currently have. And when I look at the price chart for this token, I'm thinking, okay, the incentives were obviously insane. Previously, it's pulled back significantly on all pairs. Will the future news impact price? That's kind of the question everybody needs to ask themselves if they're trading this. You know, do you hold the token through all of these service upgrades, or do you just wait? Because the chart does not look bullish at all. They did have an ICO or seed round. IEO, I guess, is more appropriate. They raised around 6 million on Binance IEO, giving various percentages of token to various people. And we can have a gander at the supply schedule. Currently almost to the end of the eventual supply schedule, probably around 6 billion, somewhere thereabouts. 8 billion by October next year. So slowly there's more tokens coming into play here. The Hermes component or the ZK rollup component already working in the works. I haven't used it myself. So if you have and you have some interesting insight on this, let me know in the comments below. But it is part of the multiple optionality solution for chain interoperability to be used by DEXs and dApps and DeFi and anybody who wants to use it. So they're currently at 7.4 million transactions with a crazy market cap for something that just sort of found a use case, 100 validators, and the fee differentials kind of speak for themselves. It is less than a penny to do most things that cost much, much more on Ethereum-based chain. And we can look at the fees not only amongst Polygon, but other stuff as well, Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, I don't even know what that is, Loopring, and ultimately the exchanges will probably decide who the winners are here, less so than the users, because the exchanges need to at least put forth these protocol changes. They need to implement these protocol changes in order for people to use them. So unless there's a really loud contingent or community saying, you have to use Polygon because I love it, it's cheap, it's quick, it's fast, right? Unless you hear a lot of that, as an exchange, you're probably going to add what you know best, what you've investigated, that sort of thing. The other two are apparently in beta as well, but early days, I think, is the bottom line for this stuff. Nevertheless, TVL exploded in April to June, and we may see continued explosions of TVL eventually, but all of this is really incentive-based. Sushi, Aave, Balancer have all added functionality here. And the more layer 2 stuff we have for ETH, ideally the cheaper things become even on the base chain, as most of this goes to layer 2. But is that going to move the needle for Matic price? I don't know. It's great for the protocol to see these DeFi apps using it with billions in TVL currently, right? It's just a big unknown question mark, I think, because it's super early on all this stuff. DeFi Llama also has Polygon at 4 billion here, down significantly from all-time highs in TVL, but Curve as well in the mix, in the scrum on the Polygon edition here. So you're seeing ETH chains get on board, native dApps to ETH, as well as other dApps on other chains. And that's just a win-win for everybody consumer-wise. Not necessarily for the respective underlying tokens, but we'll find out. Active addresses for the token have kind of flatlined since July, declining slightly since July. So that's certainly not super turbo bullish, not super bearish either, but you can't get, super excited when active addresses look like that. And transaction counts also flat down slightly, not that big of a deal as far as impacting price, but you want to see upticks in on-chain activity if you expect the token price to do well. Flipping gears to technicals, this is the half-year MA on Matic USDT Binance. In general, how this works is it's an oscillator. Buy zone is below the green, sell zone is above the red, and January, March, April, May, June, probably even, we were in that sell zone telling you this is overheated. Trader, hey, Mr. Trader, this is in the sell, this is in the sell zone. This is overbought. This is overbought. This is still overbought. Now it's quickly into the buy zone here at $1. It's interesting that the buy zone at $1 here is still higher than the sell zone was in March. And obviously when you're using lower timeframes with not a lot of data, you're going to get some confusing, ambiguous results. But if you want to be super aggro active with trading this is one indicator you could use. So when you're in the buy zone, the assumption is this probably isn't bullish. And I should just expect, in this case, multiple months potentially in the buy zone. On the 5200 cross, it is dangerously looking like an M double top, death cross pending here. Monthly pivots at 65 cents and 30 cents. Volume is basically down at a penny or 2 cents. It's hard to think that this thing is randomly going to hold at 65 cents or even 50 cents if this starts to crumble. Probably find some support at 65, some support at 30 to 45. But right now, with nothing looking super bullish, even on the cloud, it's below the cloud, it's hard to assume that this thing's going to go up, until it's back above $1.30 into late October. Based on the cloud, it should be bearish. You should expect lower lows. So the trend is not on your side if you're bullish. Matic BTC is down over 50% from the highs still. Crazy Adam and Eve double top here, M double top. Now it's squeezing against the MAs. And there was really very little support until maybe 1200 sats, and then 600 sats, and then 100 sats. This thing exploded super quick, easy come, easy go. If it starts to crumble on trend, the worst thing you can see is just slow grinding down. The best thing you can see is actually a flash crash or a quick drop, because then you usually see capitulation. A lot of people lose interest in something like that. The people who bought at the top say enough's enough, and then over time things can recover. But right now, when I see stuff like this, it's almost like everyone's holding their breath and hoping it doesn't go lower each day. And it inevitably does. Against BTC, it's not that big of a deal, really, because you still hold somewhat of a USD value. I think most people trading stuff these days are looking at USD charts. So if this starts breaking $1 on the USD chart, I expect it to get ugly quickly. And against ETH, it already looks pretty ugly. It's below the 200-day moving average. Bit of a descending triangle here. Potentially 5200 death cross. From cross to cross, that's a great trade, right? So if you caught that cross, bravo to you. But if it were me, I wouldn't be expecting a miracle turnaround here anytime soon. So Polygon Matic, early days, technology is still being worked on, brought to dApps, added to Polygon, functionality, scalability, interoperability, bridging. This is all real stuff. It's actually happening right now. The question is just, does the valuation justify what's currently going on? Was this just a crazy FOMO euphoric bull market in a couple months? Or does this thing have legs over several years? I guess we'll see. Last, I'll just mention the ETH BTC fund and DeFi portfolio I trade for Techme Capital and Enzyme.finance, a non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM, performance, allocation, all the vaults I'm in here on Yearn, Comp, and Aave, as well as the trades I make in the trades tab down below. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.